Ladies and gentlemen, we sit here just 36 hours away from the final ETF deadline, and as the last pieces of information are released about ETFs, we're seeing Bitcoin surge upwards to that 48k resistance level, and so naturally, we're asking the big questions. Will Bitcoin reject from that level and crash downwards violently, or will it pump through that level violently upon the ETF release? That's the question today, but it's made more interesting by something a little bit weird that's going on with Satoshi's wallet. We've seen $1.2 million in Bitcoin sent to Satoshi's wallet from an anonymous account. We don't know who owns that account. We don't know why they sent it. We don't know anything about it. And it could lead to something big, potentially. We need to discuss that a little bit. Lots of conspiracy theories going on there. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get into it. Okay guys, let me just update you first and foremost about the ETF decision and the recent price developments on Bitcoin. We are just 36 hours away now from the ETF deadline on Bitcoin for two separate filings, meaning within 36 hours we will be seeing an ETF decision, an approval or a denial. Now most people are on the side of approval, not only in my community, people saying, 75% of people, if you add 29 and 46, it's 75% of people saying there's going to be an approval. But in the broader market, you've got as much as 90% of people, as seen by Polymarkets, saying that Bitcoin's going to be seeing an ETF approval. So the vast majority of people, like literally 95% or 90%, think that the ETF is going to be approved. Not only that it's going to be approved, but that it's going to be approved in the next 36 hours. Now, what does this mean? It means that there is a considerable chance that we need to consider that this ETF could be priced in for the most part. We really need to understand that possibility. That's something I've spoken about like a broken record over and over again. I'm not predicting that it's a solve news event, but I'm certainly saying it's a possibility. If you have 95% of the cryptocurrency market saying that Bitcoin's likely to have seen an ETF approval, that means that the vast majority of people have already bought. It's already priced in to a certain extent. And look, let's just say it's not going to go up another 50%, right? But we could very well see a small move to the upside on the release. That's a possibility. I've spoken about this very extensively. In fact, Bitcoin has reached one of my targets that I've been talking about for a long period of time. For a very long period of time, I've been saying that it's a very decent probability that Bitcoin, upon the break of 38.5k, will move upwards to 48k. And we have just touched the lower end of 47 on the doorstep of 48k. And if we look at what that macro resistance level actually is, we can see that the next major macro resistance on Bitcoin actually is at around 48k, right? We're on the doorstep of touching that right now. We touched 47.2. And that prediction we made about Bitcoin, I suppose it wasn't really a prediction. It was just an observation of reality, right? Of the macro level being around that region. And we could very well test that before we go down. That prediction or observation, whatever you want to say, has come true. And right now we're in a situation where our next major macro support is down here around 38.5. And our next major macro resistance is between 48 and 52. So I do see a possibility, even if the ETF news is going to be bearish for Bitcoin, I do see a possibility in which Bitcoin sees a random wick up to something like 52 and then crashes back down, or I see a possibility where it crashes down straight, or there even is the, in my opinion, less likely possibility that we just go upwards. The fact of the matter is I'm not making any predictions about the event because it's very impossible. It's impossible, frankly, to predict because there's no data on it. It's just speculation. But I will say, and as I said in yesterday's video, people shouldn't be 100% confident that it's going to be a pump, okay? Because it's not guaranteed at all. But what about the most recent 24 hours? Because we've spoken about that so much, it's just brainless at this point. But what have we seen in the most recent 24 hours? Well, we saw the ETF applicants release the fees on their ETFs. And we have basically ranging from like 0.24% to 1.55%. Bitwise has the lowest fees altogether, and then Grayscale has the highest fees altogether. We also have Grayscale CEO Barry Silbert go ahead and post on Twitter, "This week equals big," clearly in reference to the ETF decisions because he made that post just shortly after the fees for Grayscale were released. So pretty much at this point, I mean, after all of this evidence, after the tickers have been released, the fees have been released, all of the details have been released, all the CEOs are saying things about it, everyone pretty much agrees it's going to be an approval. Unless there's just some absolutely left of field event, this is going to be an ETF approval. I mean, it's very, very, very likely. And I know that in crypto, a lot of people like to be, they have that conspiracy theorist bone in them. And I understand that because I've got it as well. But I will say that if you are going to take conspiracy seriously, you need to have evidence for it. And at this point in time, there's simply no evidence that the ETF will be denied, other than the fact that people think it will be approved, and that's not evidence of denial. So the ETF at this point is just objectively very, very likely to be approved. And this ties back to what I said. If the ETF is very, very likely to be approved and everyone understands that, how high can we realistically go upon the approval itself? That's my problem with Bitcoin right now. I'm not overly convinced that it will be this ultra bullish event, but I also, I don't know, because I've been surprised in the past with this recent move, let's be honest. The last month or so has been quite interesting for Bitcoin. We've been held up literally by the ETF narrative specifically. But it's a very real possibility that the last little pump we saw yesterday upon the release of those fees and all that has just been perhaps the bearish people capitulating to the bullish move. And look, who knows what we'll see? It's very hard to tell. But as I said before, I don't want people to think it's 100% guaranteed to be bullish. It very well could be a sell the news event. In fact, there's a very strong argument for that. On a logical basis, it's actually quite strong, probably stronger than the bullish argument. But we'll have to wait and see. I'm not making any predictions here. I don't have any expectations. I'm actually staying away from the market. I'm not touching longs. I'm not touching shorts. Because I understand very well that upon the release of this information, we very well could go up, then down, then up, then down, right? We can do things like that, and it's going to lead the market absolutely wrecked, and everyone's going to get wrecked, regardless of whether you're longing or shorting, you will get liquidated, right? So I'm personally not touching the market for the next 2 days, 3 days, until this ETF stuff clarifies and kind of rolls over. I will not be touching the market, so I actually don't really care what happens, to be honest. I'll react when the market is stable again and ready for me to react to it. And after that decision is made very, very clear. And I think that's obviously I think that's the best possible move you can make. I don't understand why you would be gambling with this ETF decision, given the fact that it's clearly led to a massive exacerbation of this upwards move, a massive distortion of what is normal price action over the last 3 or 4 months. That's clearly driven by the ETF. So thinking that you can come out on top of the market with the decision itself is ambitious, to say the least. But, if you want to, go ahead. I'm not doing it. What I will say is this. We are currently at macro resistance, okay? That's not a good sign. There's evidence to say it's the news event. That's not a good sign either. We very well could wick above that resistance, go even above it. Who knows? But we're at macro resistance right now. And given the fact we're at macro resistance, we have to be cautious on Bitcoin. And given the fact we're at macro resistance, with the idea of the fact of volume, on a downtrend recently, the fact of bearish divergence on the RSI, all of these things are indicators to be cautious about, to be watching. Ultimately, not much that means anything in wake of a decision like the ETF decision, but it is something you need to consider because macro resistance is not really something you want to buy into. And look, I don't really understand why you'd still be, how could you possibly still be wanting to buy up here? You've had all of this move to buy. I simply don't understand. Unless you just got into crypto yesterday, it's quite a weird decision to be buying up here at 46.8k after a move of 89% without correction. It's just a bit of a weird decision. Surely you'd be waiting for at least clarity on the ETF, if not a correction first. But anyway, I've kind of beaten that horse dead. ETF decision, 36 hours, big stuff. Final details, final snippets of information have been released yesterday. Right now, the market is clearly waiting for a pump. Ethereum sits on major support. So does total cryptocurrency market cap. That gives a little bit of confidence, I guess, to the people who are expecting the ETF decision to be bullish. It certainly is possible. I'm not denying the possibility of it. What I will say is that this ETF decision, and this is very important actually, and then I'll get into this thing about Satoshi, right, which I mentioned in the introduction, which is very important as well, but a little bit hard to decipher, but this is very important, and this is something we really need to keep on our minds here. The ETF decision has the possibility of doing some damage to the cyclical structure on Bitcoin. Okay, if we do go too high, on the random circumstance that we do go way, way, way too high on this ETF release, we could be breaking out of what we need to break out a bit too early. Okay, I'm talking about when Bitcoin is meant to break all-time highs as per cyclical structures. Based on historical indications, right, we should be breaking all-time highs on Bitcoin around Q4 this year. Okay, around Q4, give or take. It's not exact. There's only 2 data points to support it, but those 2 data points are within the same period of the market cycle, and we do look similar to what we did in the past. So realistically, we should be breaking all-time highs on Bitcoin around Q4 this year, using the 1,100-day trend from top to break of that top in the next bull market. And if we go above that level, if we go above 70k, 69k, break the all-time high too early, say we do it this month, right? I know it's very unlikely, and it's not TA supported at all, but say the ETF is just exceptionally bullish for some reason, and for some reason it just leads to this mega pump, which I think is very unlikely, but it's, we can't rule anything out, I suppose. What we will know is that If Bitcoin breaks 79K or 69K this month, say, or even next month, or even March or April, right, before the halving, let's say, that is the first sign that the cyclical theory will not be working as precisely as it did in the last cycle this time around. And that is the first time that we will need to deviate from the 4-year cycle theory and put more weight on other trends, okay? Now, until that happens, there's no reason to deviate from anything. But if that does happen, we need to be aware of it, okay? And that's something we need to consider going into this ETF decision, just in case we see something ridiculously obscene and something crazy happens. Why am I bringing up something so obscene and something so crazy potentially happening? I don't think it's going to happen, not at all, but I'm certainly want you to be aware of it. There's two reasons. One reason is the sheer quantity and the weight of the ETF decision itself, but the second reason is this, okay? Satoshi's wallet, which barely ever has been touched, right, over the course of, 13, 14 years, barely ever, actually more than that, right, 13 years, never really been touched at all, okay? It's been stagnant for a very long period of time. Someone has sent $1.2 million in Bitcoin to Satoshi's wallet, just days before this ETF decision. Now, this is very hard to decipher as a direct meaning to anything, but I've gone through the transactions, and it's quite interesting because we've got some random person, we don't know who it is, sending 26 Bitcoin, close to 27 Bitcoin to Satoshi's wallet address. Now, this guy sent his entire account valuation to Satoshi's address, okay? So it's not like he sent some, it's not like it's a donation or anything like that. He sent his entire account valuation to Satoshi's address. And not only that, but Satoshi's address now with this new payment has basically 100 Bitcoin in it, very close to 100 Bitcoin in it. So there's a lot of weird things about this transaction. First and foremost, why was it made? We don't know. Second of all, who sent it? We don't know. Was it Satoshi? We don't know. We don't even know if he exists as a single entity. We don't even know if he's alive. There's so many questions. Why was it sent now just for the ETF decision? We don't know. We don't know any of this. But it's certainly quite weird, especially considering there has been no Bitcoin sent to this address for over 9 months. And way more than 9 months, but that's just what the chart shows, right? Probably years, right? This is a weird event. Very, very strange. Okay, so I don't know what to make of this. I don't think anyone does. It could be some random person doing something random. Who knows? Or it could actually be linked to what's going on right now with the ETFs. It could be indicative of something coming. There's conspiracy theories that Satoshi is unhappy with the progress of the ETFs and he understands that ETFs are undermining the whole purpose of Bitcoin and so he's reacting to it. I don't know if any of this holds any weight. I'm simply observing what's happening here. There is some weird stuff going on with Satoshi's wallet. And given the timing of the market right now with this major event soon, it's particularly intriguing. So I'll be keeping an eye on Satoshi's wallet. I recommend you do that as well. Because that's interesting. Now, I don't think that he has the power to make any real changes to the Bitcoin price action because he only holds 100 Bitcoin, at least in this wallet he does. So it's not like he can really do anything. Or at least not that I know of. Maybe he can, I'm not sure. But it's just weird, okay? There's nothing else to say about it. It's just strange, especially in the timing right now. So I don't know what to say about it. I don't have a point to make, but I'm certainly just bringing it to your attention just because I think it's quite weird and something you should probably keep an eye on. I don't know. But yeah, especially given the timing in the market right now, it's quite strange. But overall, I really wanted to talk about what happened in the last 24 hours with ETFs. It looks like we're on the cusp of an approval. There's obviously still a very small chance of a denial, but we're on the cusp of an approval for the most part, in most people's perceptions. We are at major resistance. There's no guarantee that approval will lead to an upside price surge. There's also no guarantee of the opposite, but it certainly is a time in which it's a gamble, in my opinion. And if you're trying to guess which way it's going to go, you may as well go play roulette at the casino. That's the way I see it right now. So guys, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Check out the VIP group on Telegram. We trade altcoins multiple times a week. We give you entry signals with stop loss requirements and take profit targets. You can pay for our VIP membership there. You'll get access to not only the group with trading signals, but also a 24/7 community discussion group chat where we discuss charts, news events, everything you need with cryptocurrency, everything you might be interested in 24 hours a day globally. We've got about 120 members in there. You can become one of them. It's going to get very good in the bull market, very big in the bull market. So get in now and be an early member of it. Guys, we've also got the Bitget and Bingx exchanges. These are cryptocurrency exchanges with very low trading fees. Neither of them have been hacked before. They've faced no security issues in the past. Now, that's not obviously indicative of the future, but it certainly is a good track record that's worth considering. I've handpicked these exchanges I went through a list of all the major exchanges. I picked these ones myself. I reached out to them for partnership. They did not reach out for me. And after reaching out for partnership, they gave me a link. You can use that link to sign up. You'll get a 15% trading fee discount for life on either exchange. So Bingx is global non-KYC. Bitget is global minus the USA. Take your pick depending on your location. And then finally, the Crypto Academy Become a Trader 10-unit course. If you want to learn how to trade, this is the place you can do it. Become a Trader will teach you everything you need to know about technical analysis and also diving into fundamental analysis as well. Diving into things like market psychology, which is very important and very much overlooked. Right? The reason people lose money in crypto are emotions, and that will dive into that and how to tame your emotions essentially. Everything's included in this course. Check out the website down below, and the email address is on the website as you can see on the screen right now. Guys, VIP group, trade altcoins with me. Exchanges, you need them to trade altcoins, you need them to trade Bitcoin, referral links down below, and Crypto Academy, a course where you can learn how to trade, referral links down below. Thank you for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.